Dear audience, my name is Xiao Zhang. This is my midterm project for CIS 9437. My topic is about US and China trading wars. This is a very hot topic since President Trump has already signed a document about increasing China tariffs regarding $15 billion products. He was not satisfied with the increasing gaps between U.S. exports and imports from China, and he also believes that it is unfair to U.S. market. In this project, I will focus on three major topics. The first one is U.S. trading history with the world. We'll select U.S. top 20 trading partners and tracking their changes between 1985 to 2017. The second one is U.S. trading history with China. We'll do the trading products analysis. And third one is the recent trading war. At last, we'll give some suggestions for China government. My data was gathered from these three sources. One is United States International Trade Commission, and also USA Trade Online, and also United States Census Bureau. First things first, let's take a look at the data we gathered. Here is a data set of US tradings. This data set includes about 50,000 details about US tradings with more than 200 countries in the world. The years are between 1985 to 2017. Using this data, we finished the first step of my analysis, which is the US exports timeline. I selected the top 20 US trading partners, and in order to track the changes of their exports, US exports from the last 30 years. I use powered pivot and powered wheel to do this function. Let's see what happened. So Canada, European Union, Mexico, and China are the four largest trading partners for U.S. exports. China is the fourth destination of U.S. exports. The size of the bubbles represents the amount of their tradings. So as you can see, European Union is the biggest one. It means that it is the first destination U.S. exports to. The next page tells us the import changes for these top 20 trading partners. As we can see, Canada and Japan are the first and second, then European Union, and then China, the first goes very fast, and then becomes the first destination of U.S. imports. Using Power Wheel, I created a chart that tells us the top 5 import countries, the details about the top 5 import countries. Let's see what happened to Canada. The imports and exports increase similarly, and these are the products that U.S. imports from. This is China, As we can see, the gap is huge. This is Germany. This is Japan. Most importantly, for the next one, I will show you my dashboard for US trading histories as well as US trading with China. This is a 3D map I created for 2017. It tells us the top 20 trading partners in the world with US. From this chart, we can tell the differences between exports and imports. The purple represents US imports and the blue represents US exports. As we can see from here, China contributes 22% of imports, but only contributes to 8% of exports of US. That's the reason why Trump wants to issue the tariff. However, for the European Union, Mexico, Canada, the imports and exports are much more similar, or sometimes, for example, Mexico, the US exports even bigger than imports. The next step, as we said, is the trading history with China. We did a little analysis at here. This chart shows us the differences of US imports and US exports to China. In the year 2017, the gap becomes the biggest, which is $375 billion US dollars. From this chart, we can see the changes between these 30 years. So in the year 1987, the US exports was only 3.5 billion, but in the year 2017, US exports to China increased to 130, which is 36 times than the amount of 1987. For the imports, the number is even bigger. The number is 79 times. The top 5 import partners are displayed as follows. The first one is China, contributes about 18% of US total imports. From this chart, we can learn the top 10 products that US imports from China. The most important one is electronic equipment. It is about 115 billion US dollars. And second one is clothing. At here, using this slicer, you can take a look of the Canada, Germany, Japan, Mexico, what happened to their imports, what is the biggest amount and the biggest category of their imports as well. So for China, recently on March the 1st, Trump issued a steel tariff regarding to countries all over the world. That it was imposed, however. So let's see what is the percentages China contribute for the steel imports of US. At here, the top 10 countries contributes for steel imports takes 78% of US steel market, but we cannot find China at here. But we can find the Chinese steel and iron products at here, which is about 12 and 4 billion US dollars. That is not too much, but on March On March 23rd, Trump issued another document. It tend to increase the tariff for about 15 billion US dollars. Besides the steel, they also include the high-tech equipment. For this one, China contributes more than 42% of US total imports, and the amount is $150 billion. This category is so big that if this equipment was charged by 25% of the tariff, the amount will be largely influenced. Let's see what happens to US exports to China. The top 5 products that US exports to China are transportation equipment like aircraft, trains, vehicles, and the second is agricultural product. Third one is chemicals, and fourth one is computer electronic products. It seems like if China wants to fight back for trading war, Chinese government should have the top 5 or 10 products that US exports. Increase the tariffs of these 5 or 10 products will have a very big influence to US market as well. However, in reality, this method may not be effective as expected. So what is the best way Chinese government can fight back? We will talk about it in the next chapter, which is swing states influence. This is a product list of different states, especially for the swing states. From this chart, we can tell the top products US exports to China, the percentage of the exports to China to the exports to the world for that state, and also for then the basic information of the state. We'll use this information to determine which product is most effective to attack that state. By making this video, I have learned the ways to use power pivot, power view, slicers, timeline, and many other Excel skills. Thank you very much for watching.